Let's review the film with Andrew Kramer, a bleary-eyed Andrew Kramer
Yeah.
back from Green Bay. It's a drive, which is nice because it means we can send more people. It's not so nice because it means you have a pretty long Sunday bleeding into Monday.
That's true. Yeah, it's a long drive back, but hey, at least it was a noon game, so I like that. Not a
A
night
noon
game.
game in September where you're not going to be worried about ice and snow and stuff like that in a December game. So at least you got that going for you.
Exactly, and hey, there was a lot less slipping by the Vikings this time around
There
too.
was.
Maybe,
Yep.
maybe that helped contribute to the win.
The right cleats. Before we get to the film, my three hot takeaways, Andrew. Number one, Sam Darnold is an MVP candidate right now.
Hey, leads the NFL in touchdown passes with 11. I saw he's third in ESPN's QBR, which is kind of a better passer rating metric.
Yep.
Why not at this point? 4-0.
At this point.
Somebody, somebody
Only
with
4-0 team in the NFC.
Exactly. And the Seahawks have a chance tonight, but somebody at within the Vikings organization going into this week was very tepid about their predictions when we were just talking about expectations and the team. And this team employee said, "Hey, if we beat Green Bay, all systems go. Put the pedal to the metal on expectations." And so why not? I don't think that's too spicy. I think that's a good take for you because honestly, like Darnold is playing so well at this point. He threw 6 red zone touchdown passes in these last 2 games, or it might even be 7. He has O'Connell has kind of put the team on his shoulders a little bit and said, "Hey, if it's late in the game, we're going to trust you to throw the ball to win this for us. If we're in the red zone, goal line, we can't run. We're going to trust you to throw it in." And you're seeing that kind of empowerment. And O'Connell wants to say that the cart wasn't put before the horse here. He's saying, I always had this confidence in him. This is why we're at this point. But honestly, you're seeing just how differently O'Connell is calling games in week 4 compared to week 1 when they played their first game together.
Absolutely. We'll get into that, I think, more a little bit as we look at the film. But yeah, just the numbers, when you're, again, an undefeated team, 4 games into the season, when you have 3 more touchdown passes than anybody else in the NFL, when you're third in the total QBR metric, like that it just automatically puts you in that conversation right now. Like certainly, like we've talked about, comeback player of the year is within his reach if he keeps playing like this. And again, usually that goes to a player who is injured. You don't necessarily love to be a comeback player of the year when you're only coming back from your own precipitous drop off from expectations. But the talent has obviously been there, and it's coming out right now.
Yeah, and you're seeing it with just the athleticism, the arm talent. That throw to Justin Jefferson for the touchdown, just right over the shoulder of Keyshawn Nixon, the Packers corner. And Darnold said, "Yeah, I'm just putting it up for Jefferson." But the anticipation, the touch to drop it in there, literally right over the shoulder pad of the Packers defender. It's just an incredible throw. You're right. You're seeing why he was taken 3rd overall. And it's such a cliche that we heard all summer of like, well, we can, we see the talent. This is why he was taken 3rd overall. But no, this is what a franchise envisioned. This is what the Jets envisioned when they took him. And of course, they're not the ones to get it out of him.
Hot takeaway number 2, forget what this organization usually does. They should be working on and completing a KOC extension midseason.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they probably wouldn't I don't even know if I'm sure O'Connell would welcome an extension at any point, but if that drew any kind of attention of his away from the team, I'm sure he wouldn't want to even send that message. Maybe it would be bad PR in O'Connell's mind to make this season or this point about him in any way, shape, or form. I think that's kind of antithetical to how O'Connell wants to do things. So I think it might be O'Connell who says, "Hey, let's just wait." Okay. It's great. Let's table that offer. Let's keep it. Let's even maybe increase it if we continue to do well this season. So I see what you're saying. He's more than deserved it. And honestly, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah at this point, the moves he's made, especially this year's free agency, Grenard, Van Ginkel, Cashman, these guys are making such big impacts so far that both of those guys probably want to wait to see how the season plays out because their stock continues to rise.
It's true. I just feel like if there was like slight like conversations before the season started, like kind of make or break year for O'Connell, make or break year for Kwesi, and some of that came before the McCarthy injury, which maybe changed some of the calculus on it. But if that was some of the chatter in early August, that's 180 degrees from there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot of tepid kind of, feelings this summer about how it would be because it was such a huge transition year with all the new defenders that we mentioned, with Sam Darnold taking over for Kirk. But boy, it's gone about as well as anybody could have expected.
Third hot takeaway, a little bit of cold water here. I want to say I'm worried that Aaron Rodgers is going to carve them up in London with some of the intermediate stuff that Love found in the second half of that game.
That was interesting. Green Bay, and when you look back at that game, the Packers obviously struggled in the first half. You don't go down 28-0 without offensive issues. But in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, there's something Byron Murphy, the Vikings defensive back, said that stood out to me about that. He said Love was checking more at that point. He seemed like he understood more of what we were in defensively. He said, he might not have known exactly, but he thought he knew, and he seemed more decisive. He was getting the ball out faster. He seemed more comfortable. And I think there is some of that to this Flores defense where it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Not to say that these guys aren't all great and physically talented and dominating individual matchups at times, but how they win is a lot of subterfuge before the snap. It is the late rotations on defense. It is all those things. So if you're a smart enough quarterback, and especially if you get a beat on it, and Rodgers, more than Love, more than Stroud, more than Purdy, and more than Daniel Jones, has seen way more football than any of these guys they've faced so far, and I don't know how much you can confuse him. Now, the Vikings, though, can pressure. They can win up front. Patrick Jones has 5 sacks already somehow, and he's been dominating his individual matchups. You've got Van Ginkel. Obviously, Grenard played well in that game on Sunday. And then they blitz incredibly well. If they get Ivan Pace back for this game, Ivan Pace is one of the best blitzers on the team. So I think that's the way they win. That's the way they probably try to get after Rodgers, make him move as a 41-year-old quarterback in the NFL. But we haven't seen enough from the Jets, so that's why I think this is a little bit too spicy for me. We haven't seen a lot. What have we seen from the Jets, Mike, for you to be like, you know what, that this is going to be it?
The only thing I think of is nobody had really done much against them. You have Daniel Jones struggling in week 1, not surprising. Although he's been a little bit better the rest of the season. We got Brock Purdy saying your scheme is crazy. They shut them down. They completely baffle CJ Stroud. But this is film where a team might look at it and say, okay, I know how to beat this now, even with all your good players. And now you've got a veteran quarterback, your first real veteran quarterback, who's going to come in and say, okay, I've seen everything. If I don't get greedy like Jordan Love got on some of those bad plays, those negative plays that he had, I think the Jets could play pretty clean football and put some points on the board.
That is the thing. Aaron Rodgers does not turn the ball over. That's the hallmark, right, for that guy. So if they can actually have face an opponent that controls the football in that way, because the Vikings swung that game with their takeaways, with the 4 takeaways they had, including the 2 at the end. And you're right, Jordan Love just throwing up a prayer when Harrison Smith is blitzing off the edge untouched. He's just like, I got to get rid of it. Just chuck it up. And Byron Murphy seemed like the intended target on that interception. You're absolutely right. I don't think Rodgers is the kind of guy to do that. The issue is that they can't run the ball either, the Jets. I think Breece Hall didn't do a whole lot this past week. So it would have to be the Aaron Rodgers show at Tottenham Stadium, for that to happen.